Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had an interesting experience back in February, the Health Subcommittee. I wish everybody on the committee could have attended. The Health Subcommittee had a hearing. It was 2 panels, and we heard from people who were doing interesting things, very forward-leaning. What was interesting about the hearing itself was there was no hubris on the dais. There was nobody that was here saying, oh, if you'd only taken my 3 easy points on the opioid crisis, none of this would have happened. Similarly, I think the smart people who look at this crisis recognize there's really not many clean hands on this issue. There's government policies that have driven the opioid crisis, just without question. The notion of being evaluated, a health system being evaluated for how it handles pain. Pain is the 5th vital sign and so forth, created an incentive for health providers to say, hey, if you're going to evaluate me on pain, here's the remedy. I'm going to make pain go away, and I'm going to get better scores as a result. That's part of the problem. Another part of the problem is pharma, we all know, and that's going to be dealt with largely in the courts retroactively in terms of damages and misrepresentations and so forth. Healthcare community, in part, is complicit in this and not wanting to deal in some cases with underlying problems and wanting to have situations go away and writing a script rather than dealing with an underlying problem. And then we as a culture really are struggling with how it is that we navigate through pain. We don't like pain. I don't, you don't, nobody does. And I think we put a tremendous amount of pressure on healthcare providers to make pain go away. And so now we're coming to terms with that, but it's been a hard journey, but I've really appreciated that hearing in particular based on the lack of hubris and the humility on the parts of members that realize we really need to be listening. The PASS Act that we're about to mark and consider is a collection of bipartisan bills, obviously, that aim to prevent this overuse through increased program integrity and creating effective resources for prescribers and beneficiaries. I was pleased to introduce lock-in legislation with the ranking member of my subcommittee, Mr. Levin, as well as the Compass Act with Mr. Larson from Connecticut, which encourage providers to prescribing education through notice of outlier patterns, both of which are included in this package. Like other members on this committee, I've spent a considerable amount of time in my district listening to physicians, healthcare providers, police chiefs, educators, other caregivers, and I've heard a common theme: legislation that encourages the use of alternative treatments, that increase provider education and assist with detection of those who are at risk are things to be favored. The packages that we're moving today begin to address these issues, and I look forward to working with my colleagues and the medical community to address this epidemic. Mr. Chairman, thank you, and I yield back.